Cowboy Logic, Season 2, Episode 5. When the storm hits, that's when you find out who stays. Welcome back to Cowboy Logic. I'm Ann Dunbar. Today's wisdom comes from the kind of loyalty you don't advertise about. You live it. You don't abandon the herd mid-storm. When the weather turns ugly on a ranch, you don't scatter. You check the fences first, wire snapping in 60-mile winds, and you count heads of cattle through sheets of rain that sting your face. You stay until every horse is safe in the barn, even with the wind screaming past your hat. Because walking away when things get hard isn't strength, it's convenience. Cowboys don't build their lives on convenience. They build on commitment, on showing up when mud sucks at your boots and skies turn black, on being the kind who can be counted on when thunder rolls and most would head for cover. There have been seasons in my life that felt like those ranch storms. Not dramatic lightning shows, but the slow, grinding kind that soaks you to the bone. When my husband passed, the world didn't stop spinning. Bills still arrived in the mail like clockwork, and the fridge hummed empty. The cats followed me around in a quiet house, and life kept demanding things when I had nothing left to give. Some mornings coffee went cold on the counter untouched, and some nights I'd sit at this desk staring at the blinking cursor and the weight in my chest making words impossible. It would have been easier to disappear, to stop writing and to let the dishes stack and to drift away from the people who needed me and from the story still kicking inside waiting to be born. But I didn't. I stayed with the hard parts. I paid the electric bill with shaking hands and fed the cats though my throat burned and wrote one sentence when 10,000 felt impossible. Not because I felt strong. Most days I could barely stand. And not because grief lifted. It sat heavy on my chest like wet saddle blankets. I stayed because that's what you do when you're part of something bigger. When people depend on you, and when promises made in a hospital room, and wedding vows echo louder than the silence. That loyalty to people, to promises, to myself, came from growing up in those West Virginia mountains where hollers will flood and power lines will snap. You don't leave kin when creeks rise. You don't walk away from neighbors when the roof leaks. You hunker down together. Coffee strong, talk quiet, and hands busy. Mama taught me that. Neighbors who showed up unasked with soup and split firewood when Daddy broke his back. It's why Gabe, in starting over in Montana, doesn't leave when he ends up raising 2 kids alone. Or when Jeb and Anya's salvation stays when danger comes a-calling. Now Bet in her Christmas story holds ground when love is threatened. They don't stay because it's easy. They stay because love isn't weather dependent. Commitment doesn't check the forecast. It's choosing over and over. Especially on those mornings when getting out of bed feels like fording a river in a spring flood. Anyone can stay when life is as bright and golden as the summer sun. The truth of who you are shows up when storms hit. You don't have to fix everything, and you don't need perfect words or endless energy. You don't have to answer when questions choke you. You just have to stay. Sometimes staying looks like showing up to your job, heart cracked open and raw. Sometimes it's staying in therapy, and sometimes it's not texting the person you know is wrong for you. Sometimes it's finishing what you started, And sometimes it's writing one true sentence when the story fights you. And sometimes it's answering the phone, I'm here, when you have nothing else. That staying builds quite muscle, stronger than any gym can forge. The refusal to abandon what matters, that's legacy. Not statues or headlines, real legacy. The people who remembered you showed up. The stories that get written anyway, and the promises you honored when no one was watching. So, today's cowboy logic is this: you don't abandon the herd mid storm. If you're standing in something hard right now, staying when leaving would be easier. That's strength, real strength, and it counts double. My characters ride through their storms for the same reason. You can find them on Amazon if today's words hit home. I'll see you next week. Until then, hold your ground, mud and all. You matter more than you know.